How's it going, everyone? The Salamander Man here, back with another video, and this time it's another Easter Newt update video. And I just want to take the time to update everyone on a few things that have happened with my Easter Newts. And there's actually some good news and bad news. So I'm going to start with the bad news first and get that out of the way. You might remember a while back I did an Easter Newt update video on an Morph that I had found in my adult Easter Newt tank. And when I came across this little Newt at the time, it was really small, only about an inch long. It had just emerged from the water, so it had to be moved to a new enclosure, a totally terrestrial setup. But I can't stress enough just how tiny this animal really was. Only about an inch long, maybe just slightly longer than that from head to tail. An incredibly tiny, fragile animal. And unfortunately, this little Newt ended up passing away not that long after I had done the video. It was incredibly difficult to get this little Newt to eat, and it probably only ate just a handful of times and unfortunately stopped eating afterwards. And it really just goes to show just how difficult it can be to keep some of these animals. Some species are definitely easier to keep than others, but other species like the Easter Newt come with many different complexities that really make them a challenge to keep. And so unfortunately, the really tiny size of a newly morphed Easter Newt eft is one of the factors that makes an Easter Newt a difficult species to keep. And even if you are doing things correctly to the best of your knowledge, sometimes things just end up going wrong. And so it seems like there could have just been something wrong with this little Newt from the beginning that was not immediately obvious. So that is the bad news. Unfortunately, this little Newt simply did not make it. However, there is good news. Not too long after this happened, I came across the same situation, another morph that just emerged from the water. Except, this one was actually slightly bigger than the other one. And so, of course, this Newt was also moved to a terrestrial setup, set up the same way with a mix of coconut fiber and topsoil. And then I added a few dried oak leaves and a piece of cork bark for the little Newt to hide under. Now this happens to be the same Newt that I featured in my previous video, how to feed terrestrial juvenile Newts, and I will leave the link to that video in the description below. And this Newt has been doing fantastic. This little Newt was definitely a challenge to feed in the beginning, but at this point, it has grown quite a bit. It's about 2 inches long from head to tail now, and it eats regularly without any issues. And it's actually about the size where it can probably start eating very small earthworms. So very soon, I will be giving that a shot and introduce some new food to it. But currently, it is still feeding on white worms and springtails. When it comes to raising larvae or small terrestrial newts that are in the eft stage, these animals can be quite a challenge to raise for many reasons. If you're facing some challenges in this hobby, especially if you're raising some small and young newts or salamanders, don't get discouraged and don't give up. You may have heard me say before that this is a hobby that I consider to be not so popular and lacking in information. But this is part of the reason for my channel and why I want to show it is possible to succeed with these animals, especially with species that are not commonly bred like this little Easter Newt. And this is why it is critical that more people in the Newt and salamander hobby participate in breeding whenever possible. Now, on another note, after doing a little bit more research and getting some other opinions, it appears that this little Easter Newt is skipping the eft stage, which is why it has not turned red or orange. However, I'm still not totally sure that this is what is going on, because usually skipping the eft stage means that the Newt will become aquatic almost immediately upon metamorphosis. And this usually happens to individuals that become neotenic. So I'm not 100% sure what is going on, but this little newt is still living the terrestrial stage, and I have no plans to introduce it to water until it's a bit more mature. Now, another point to note here is that diet does affect coloration. And in Eastern newts, carotene will affect the vibrancy of the spots, and a lack of carotene usually results in a more yellow coloration. So I don't think carotene is a factor here, as the spots on this little newt are red. Now, there could also be a more simple explanation, and that is not all Eastern newt Fs will go through a red F stage. Now, I have never seen an Eastern newt F in the wild lacking the red or orange coloration, so I'm not sure how common this is in captivity. Now, I was also told by someone who has bred Eastern newts before that this person's juveniles did start out with a near adult coloration, just like mine did. However, after a few weeks, it did obtain that orange coloration. So it's difficult to say for sure what is going on with this little guy, but regardless of the situation, it is being kept terrestrially, as it is clearly hydrophobic still, and will be kept as such until I find it appropriate to introduce it to the water. Hey everyone, so at the time of recording this part of the video, this little newt is actually already just a little bit past 2 inches long, and he's already started to eat some chopped earthworms. So I'm gonna actually feed him a piece of earthworm, and can really just get to see just how well this newt is starting to grow. And it'll probably take maybe 2 to 3 years for this newt to fully mature. I really don't know when I'm going to introduce the newt to water. I'm still thinking that once it fully matures, about 2 to 3 years, that's when this little newt will become aquatic, because it is still terrestrial and it shows no signs of going into the water. When I missed the tank, it's still clearly hydrophobic, so I'm going to keep treating it as a terrestrial eft until the time comes. Alright, now here's that piece of chopped earthworm there, and I always put it on the leaf just so the worm can't escape into the substrate where the newt will lose it. But you can see he's immediately interested in it, and he's got to just clamp down on that worm the right way to get a good hold of it. But he's eating these earthworms very well. He's very healthy. So I really can't wait to see how this newt is going to turn out when he gets bigger. He's finally just finished swallowing that worm, and he really went after that worm very, very quickly. And so it seems like these earthworms are already a great choice of food for him. There's no issues with the size of the worm that he just ate either. So I'm thinking a food source like this that is going to be plentiful will definitely help with a quicker growth rate and maturity rate, because in the wild it could take maybe 4 to 6 years to mature, but with a lot of food readily available, it could actually reduce the time of maturity in captivity. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Alright everyone, I'm going to wrap up the video here. I gotta say, when I found both of these little newts in the enclosure with my adult Eastern newts, I was really surprised because I saw plenty of courtship take place, but I never saw any egg laying. And it was really unfortunate that the first little eft didn't survive. It would have been fantastic to see it grow up alongside of the one that I currently have now. But with that said, I am glad that the little eft that I currently have right now is doing absolutely fantastic, eating readily and growing as well. And with that, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, share, comment down below, and subscribe. Your support is very much appreciated, everyone. And I just want to give a quick thank you to everyone that has already subscribed. The channel has reached over 500 subscribers, which is really amazing. And so, there will be more Easter Newt updates to come. Until next time, I am the Salamander Man.